Another game and another loss for the Seattle Kraken. How'd they lose this time? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we are bringing you your favorite team. Though it may pain you this Friday, the Seattle Kraken. Every single day, I am Erica L. Ayala, your host of Locked On Kraken, also the co-host of the Women's Hockey Report. We have a new episode on deck for you coming out bright and early on Saturday, getting you ready for PWHL action over the weekend. The Seattle Kraken nearly shut out. If not for Riker Evans, they would have been shut out by the Chicago Blackhawks. And this is a team, that being Chicago, that, they won going into last night's game 3 in a row. But it's a beatable team for the Kraken. And that's where the frustration lies. Even if it wasn't a beatable team, the frustration lies in the Seattle Kraken team just playing under their own potential. And how long is that going to last? How long is this team going to allow that is really the question. But today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. When you place a $5 bet, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, not a great start for the Seattle Kraken. And I really don't think you need me to say much because Yanni Gourde, in his interview with Piper Shaw, pretty much laid it all out on the line. So let's play that clip. Roll that beautiful bean footage. This is not beautiful. There's not even any beans, but there is a pepper pot. So here's what Yanni Gourde told Piper in the first intermission.
Well, Yanni, it's great to see you back out there with the team. How would you assess your team's work through that first 20?
Unacceptable. Awful. We need better. Too many turnovers. We're lacking reload. We're diving in. They get to way too many opportunities. This has to stop. We need to find a better way.
Joey's been phenomenal, obviously, but you might have the save of the period there coming through the blue with that cut, blocking that shot. What was your perspective of that play in that moment?
Again, we gave up a 3-on-2, 3-on-1. Joey has to make a stop, and we're scrambling again. We got to get that out of our game.
All right, and then what do you guys need to do when it comes to just limiting their opportunities off the rush? How do you slow that down?
We got to put it deep and go to work. That's where we're successful. We have to stop making turnovers at the blue line. We got to put it deep and go to work. Trust our structure. Trust our play with the puck, and if we do that, we're going to be better. But this out there was not good enough.
Thank you for your honesty.
No lies detected. And I love that he talks about the team scrambling, because I think if you look at the highlights, you're like, wow, Yanni Gourde steps up, makes that big save. Adam Larsson had a big time block. Of course, Joey Daccord coming up big, but it's the scrambling. And that comes from not doing the things that you need to do further up the ice. He talks about getting the puck in deep, Yanni Gourde, in that clip. But again, it's the neutral zone. It's in our own offensive zone. It's in transition. The Seattle Kraken are not taking care of the puck. They are putting their goaltenders and their defensemen in bad positions. And, the breakaway opportunities aplenty for Chicago in this game because they were the more opportunistic team. And I knew that going in, that was probably going to be the case. You know why? Because they have Ryan Sandpaper Donato on their team. I'm kind of joking, but my point is that the Chicago Blackhawks, they took it to Seattle. They really did. If you look at the first period, the shots on goal, 10 for Chicago, 5 for Seattle. Now they turn the tide in the second and the third, but it's too little, too late. And then getting more shots than your opponent, but not finding the back of the net. The Seattle Kraken outshot Chicago mildly, 11-9 in the second frame. But who had the goals? Chicago. Chicago, was able to, in their way, dominate this game. They get the only goal in the second frame. They get the first goal and the last goal in the third period. And it's just getting exhausting. It's getting exhausting to have to say the same thing. And this is not a team that lacks potential. We have had Seattle Kraken teams that just were not built to win. Last season, I don't know who, but somebody somewhere thought that was a team built to win. I never saw the vision. I really didn't. The inaugural season, built to win? No, ma'am. No, sir. No. 2 7-7s, an extension for Larson, an extension for Joey Dax, an extension for Beniers. For those listening on audio, I'm just waving my left hand back and forth. I'm waving it back and forth. I just don't know what else I'm supposed to say on a daily podcast covering the Seattle Kraken when the record keeps skipping. The record keeps skipping. No new needle, no new vinyl, no new, Victrola, no new record player. Everything feels the same, and it's frustrating. And I'm not saying that the team isn't frustrated. Obviously, Yanni Gourde is frustrated. But what do you do with that? What do you do with that? When do you make it action? And I'm not saying it's easy. Listen, if we all take a look into our lives, and maybe I'm just talking about myself without, putting myself on blast 100%, there are things in my life that I talk about, I journal about, I think about changing, and they don't always change. So there's a human element here, and I am willing to give grace. But giving grace and sugarcoating, not the same thing. I know there are aspects and areas in my life where I say, hey, I want to be better at this. I want to be better at this. I want to be better at this. And I say that. It's a matter of, am I actually better at it? And so the energy doesn't need to be in me saying that I'm going to be better. The energy needs to be put in me doing better, in me getting the support that I need, and surrendering control, letting go of fear so that I can be better. That's how it feels watching the Kraken right now. That they need to surrender the fear, let go of the fear, lean into the resources that they have to actualize their full potential. At some point, you can't beat yourself up about it. Because if that's not working to motivate you to be better, then you need a different motivation. That's not to say it's not frustrating. That's not to say, as Yanni Gourde said, that it's unacceptable, that it's acceptable. He, of course, was saying it was unacceptable, and I agree with him. So what are you doing about it? Are we having players only meetings? Are we talking with, are we doing visualizations, talking with, different performance coaches and all of these? What are we doing about it? The front office made a trade, and we'll talk about Kaapo Kakko in the next segment. They put Daniel Sprong, the coaching staff put Daniel Sprong in the lineup last night against Chicago. What is it going to take to surrender, to let go of the fear, and to be united in taking ownership, not just of the problem, but even more so of the solution? Where does that come from? Of course, it has to come from the front office, and they've made moves. Of course, it has to come from the coaching staff, and the coaching staff has made adjustments. It absolutely will not work if the roster does not hold themselves accountable. It will not work. What is the adage? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Deep sighs, because this is frustrating. It sounds like there's a cognitive awareness of the problem. But what I'm not hearing, and perhaps what is not concrete, are the steps to do better. Is this a team willing to do whatever it takes? Because they are hovering dangerously close to being on the outside looking in once again. And, this isn't of tried hard, just didn't get it. This is just a matter of didn't have it. I want to read a comment we got on YouTube, and thank you for all those who've been commenting. Lots of Rangers fans in the comments on our last episode, and we might have a special crossover where we get a little bit more into Kaapo Kakko with our experts over at Locked On New York Rangers. But Striatic writes, regarding the playoff push, you're starting to become a deadline seller. I think it isn't time to sell yet, but we are pretty danged close. Going into the Chicago game, the Kraken need to play 6-12 point percentage hockey until the end of the season to hit 92 points and have a chance at a Western Conference wildcard spot, which I don't think is impossible for this team, however, unlikely. If the required pace becomes 650 at any point, though, it's time to fold. And that time might come extremely quickly if the team keeps losing, like as soon as this weekend. Who do we have coming up? Vegas and Colorado. And you can't win against a scrappy, hungry, determined, prideful Chicago team that may not always have all of the skill to deploy comparative to some other teams we're about to play. But they know who they are. They know what they do well, collectively and individually, and they are opportunistic. And that will win you hockey games in the National Hockey League. The shoulda, the coulda, the woulda, the great on paper is not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. Coming up next, coming up next, we'll talk about Kaapo Kakko. Not really much to talk about, and you'll hear from Dan Bylsma on why this might not be a fair assessment for his debut. We'll get into that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. Here's why you need to get started today. You can win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks, and you can get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. No need to win. The $50 is guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers fun weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday. I had tacos today on a Friday, where select player projections are discounted up to 25%. Download the app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. PrizePicks, run your game. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken part of your daily destination, even when all I'm doing is ranting, because what else is there to say? We've kind of said it all. I don't know if you are one of our everydayers. Everydayers know. Some of this is just rinse and repeat. I'm talking about the same thing night in, night out. But that's what we do here because, we want to be there for you, Seattle hockey fans and Seattle Kraken fans. And that doesn't always mean it's going to be pleasant, but it will be honest. So speaking of, what is the honest assessment of Kaapo Kakko? I wasn't sure what the lines would look like. We did end up seeing Kaapo Kakko on that Jared McCann line, or I should say Matty Beniers line with Jared McCann, Matty Beniers. Burakovsky goes to the Stevenson line with Jaden Schwartz. Eli Tolvanen, Shane Wright, and Oliver Bjorkstrand stay together as they should. And Daniel Sprong slates in for Ty Cartier. Yanni Gourde returns to center, and Brendan Tanev on that fourth line. I mean, I think I would probably take Cartier over Daniel Sprong, but I don't know if that's injury related, just a maintenance day. He's maintenancing. It's just frustrating to see this team underperform. It's frustrating to see this team underperform. And now you have a new guy joining the top line. And, Dan Bylsma didn't really have much to say about how Kaapo Kakko impacted the Seattle Kraken, because the Seattle Kraken couldn't even get to their bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of their game. Here's what Dan Bylsma said after the loss to Chicago.
Well, I would just say we didn't do many favors tonight with you let the puck do the work for you. Let the puck give you an opportunity to have success with how you execute with it, and how we executed with it didn't give anybody a chance to have success tonight in the game.
Dan, did you feel any better about the third period and making a little bit of a push?
I'd be even more upset if we didn't have a push in a response. I don't think it's on all of us. We don't want to be a response team. We don't want to be one that has to put in an effort in it when you're down in the game. That's really more where me, the group, players in there have to recognize we need to be a lot.
Today's episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, brought to you once again by our friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to bet on the National Football League, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, put down your nachos, go to the website, go to your app, and check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page where you place your NFL bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started once again with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. I don't know. I felt like a trumpet noise was needed right there. Best of luck on FanDuel. Erica Ayala here, thanking you for making Locked on Kraken a part of your daily destination. Not a great outing by the Seattle Kraken. You can't really measure what this was for Kaapo Kakko. 0-1 in the Kakko era. Kind of playing like Kaka, the team, not the player. I mean, something's got to give. This team has to take some pride in getting after it. And right now that just seems to be missing. But let's hear what Oliver Bjorkstrand had to say after the game. He was able to set up Ty Cartier on that play. Really great passing. And that's something we need to see more of on the Seattle Kraken team. Here's Ollie. Couldn't find the momentum. And again, that's been the tale of this team. They will take on the Vegas Golden Knights over the weekend, also take on Colorado. Vegas is 7-2-1 in their last 10. The Seattle Kraken 4-5-1. The power play for Vegas is the 4th best in the National Hockey League. 27.3% clip. Seattle Kraken 17.5. Penalty kill. We have the advantage there, but I don't want us spending too much time because it's a reaction. We're not being the aggressors, and we then are scrambling. Goals for 2.82 for the Seattle Kraken to 3.44 for Vegas. I'm assuming we'll see Joey Decord, but you never know. Goals against 2.97 for the Kraken, 2.88 for Vegas. We did get the win earlier this season against Vegas. Seattle does tend to, at times, play up to their opponent. Why we lose to teams like Anaheim and San Jose and Chicago, I couldn't tell you. It's a lapse in mentality. I'm hoping that the Seattle Kraken will get that back as they take on Vegas. And we, of course, will have you covered on Monday for a full episode. Zane will be joining me for Monday's episode. That's the plan. We also are expecting to connect with John Chick from Locked On New York Rangers at some point in time, because I think we both have more to say about the most recent trade. And I really just don't think it can be the end for the Seattle Kraken. You heard what Striatic said. It's in the YouTube comments. Have to play at a certain clip. The Seattle Kraken could fall lower than that this weekend, and getting that loss to Chicago isn't helping make a strong case. Can they turn it around? Yes, of course they can. That's not the question. For me, the question is, how long can they play to their potential? You're not guaranteed to win every time you play to your potential, but you need that consistency, and the Seattle Kraken do not have it. But I am going to remind you to be kind to yourselves, be kind to your favorite hockey team, and be kind to one another. And despite the disappointments, we hold fast. We stay true and loud and proud. We say, let's go, Kraken. I'll either catch you for tomorrow's women's hockey report on the Locked On NHL channel, or, of course, right here on Locked On Kraken come Monday. Either way, wishing you a great pre-holiday weekend, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.